Hey everyone, Ulria here, and today we'll be looking at Sikran on Mythic. This is a 2 tanks, 4 healers, 14 DPS encounter, and this one plays out very similarly to Heroic, in terms that you do the same movements around the room, you do the same box or square formation, however you want to call it, for the charges. There's minor tweaks and differences that make the encounter a bit more tricky, so let's go over these now. The first and most important change probably is the 4 people that get the charges, they cannot be stacked or close to each other. They have to be 8 yards apart, otherwise the simulacrums will just explode. Now you get a circle, you get a nice indicator around your character, which means no one can be in your circle, otherwise there's going to be a double pop. Now you can see it clearly here, and this circle that you see, this blue one, no one can be within it but you. So you do your square formation and you ensure that the 4 people are spread out. Now another very important thing about these charges is, let's backtrack a bit. The first person targeted by the boss, his position is pretty important. Now that person has to be on the front. Let me try and get a nice frame to pause on. Okay, so this is pretty good. So you can see that the first person currently is sitting here. The other ones don't really matter, as long as the first one is either to the front right or to the front left. Now why is this? It's because the boss is obviously going to charge here first, and then he's going to do the zigzag, which is fine. However, if that first charge is, for example, over here, so this is 1, and imagine this is number 2. The others again don't really matter. What is going to happen is the boss is going to charge through the second person to reach the first one, hitting them, spawning an image. Then the boss is going to charge back to the second person, hitting them again and spawning a second image. That means that those images are going to explode. Your very important thing about this fight is you never ever want to explode images. What happens then? You take a lot of damage. People are very likely gonna die. And how do you wipe on this boss? Is, well, when you lose a lot of people. There isn't really a DPS check on this, you'll never run out of space. So your most important thing to note is that you should never ever pop images. So that the first person actually has to make sure that they are either on this spot or on this one. The next ones don't really matter because the boss will never double hit anyone besides that. Another very important thing is, and we're gonna get to that, the sequence of this fight and the timings are different from Heroic. So on Heroic you have a decimate after every charge, I believe, so you can clear all the images, and you obviously don't have the whole AER thing. However, on Mythic, your sequence is charge, into a second charge, into decimate, into a charge, into another decimate. This means your first 3 decimates have 8 images to destroy. Right, so this is a bit of a tricky one, and they need to position properly. As you can see, we already have 4 images over there. And this is our second charge. So we're going to spawn 4 more here. So that's 8 images, 3 decimates. They need to angle themselves in a way that they destroy all 8. The important thing for the second charge people, especially the ones going closer to the first set, is that you have the images from the previous one here as well. So these people, they have the 8-yard radius around them, and those previous images still cannot be within the circle, otherwise they are just gonna pop and kill people. So whenever the second charges come out, those people on the side, they need to be very careful, and they also kind of set the pace to where the other 2 are gonna stand. These 2 people kind of need to be cognizant of where the first people are, and they need to give them enough space. So if you need to move a bit further out, just do that. Right, even if your shape, this applies to every charge basically, even if your shape is not like a perfect box, that is absolutely fine. If it turns out some weird triangle or whatever, it's fine as long as there's no people within 8 yards of each other and you don't pop any images. You can recover from anything that's like not a box, but it's gonna be pretty rough to recover from multiple images that are being popped. So another thing for the charges is, whenever you get a charge, you get a, I believe, 50% healing reduction taken. So this is a great spot to use like a personal, or a health pot or whatever, because the healers might struggle a bit to heal you up. As you can see, we got 8 of the images here. We were taking down, not for a lot, but the 4 people with the charges. As you can see, I used my bark skin or whatever, but we were still dropping a bit low. Now another overlap that happens on Mythic is, as you kind of saw here, and it's going to happen multiple times, there are going to be rain of arrow swirlies on the ground while you're placing the charges. Right, so you kind of have to wiggle around, because if you get hit by a swirly, that's about 50% of your HP, I believe. So you don't want to get hit by them. And those 4 people kind of need to be careful that they're not like dodging into each other. So they need to give themselves enough space to dodge the swirlies, but also not be 8 yards within each other. Now, the Shattering Sweep is what I call the kind of phase reset of the boss. He is gonna pop all remaining images. This is also why you want to ensure that you destroy as many of them, ideally all of them, so you don't leave the boss to pop all of them, or the remaining ones rather, because you get a damage increase from them. So the more images that are up, you have a bigger chance of just kind of getting one shots. However, you can lift 2 or 3 perhaps, so that's fine, it's not the end of the world. Additionally, the Shattering Sweep also does fall off damage. So what we do is, as you can see here, we place a gate outside, everyone gates, and we just kind of wait it out on the other side. Now this is a great spot to use your round DR abilities. Here we have a barrier, you can put down AMZ, you can put down Link, depends on whatever comp you have, right? This is a good spot for that. There is also, after the second charge, where the decimates come in and destroy kind of 8 images. That is also a pretty good spot for healing CDs. But that one you can figure out depending on what kind of classes you have. So let's have a look at kind of the end of the fight. And now don't mind us here, we completely messed this up. This is the definition of everything's going great until it isn't, and everything kind of crumbles at the end. So we lose so many people because we have so many double image pops here. However, our boss is on 13%, right? We have the Shattering Sweep. This was the last charge here. We have the decimates and the Shattering Sweep. Now the whole outer edge of the room is going to be covered by blue goo. So then we have to play in the middle of the room, right? What I do is place a marker, I tell people that's where we're gonna gate to, and this is where we're gonna play, right? This is where the raid is gonna stand. Because the other side is gonna be where the charges, as you can see me placing the markers there, this is where the charges are gonna go. So at the end, if your boss is low on HP, you can make the call that you can just commit to him and you don't need to destroy any of the images. Here we also kind of make a line. We don't make the box anymore. This gives more room to people, less of a chance to double pop, of course. And what we have is we have the first charges there, then we have the next charges here, and the raid plays kind of on this side. Also, I call the decimates not to destroy any images. That means the people with decimates, they phase them outwards over here, for example, or over there, doesn't really matter. As long as it's not towards where the charges are, or the image is already spawned, so you don't want to destroy those. You don't want to take extra damage. Maybe your healers are low in mana, maybe, like us, you're kind of with half your healing roster at this point alive, so we only have 2. So we want to avoid as much damage as possible, and obviously with so many DPSs alive, I know we can burn through 8% of the boss before he does his next Shattering Sweep. So what happens here is just a race to kill the boss until he does the Shattering Sweep and just basically destroys 12 simulacrums and just wipes you. That's kind of the whole fight, pretty much. Now, a couple of tips and tricks about this is, if the first person of the charge is like a hunter or a mage, they can cancel out the charge, so they only spawn one image. They do this by timing invis, which is pretty tight timing, or just kind of sitting in feigned death, and the boss is just going to charge for the first person, and then the charge is going to just get cancelled, and you're not going to have the second, third, and fourth. I don't recommend relying on this at all. I think this is just going to take a lot of brain power for people to try and figure out the timing of it, and I just recommend doing it the intended way. And that's about it for Sikran. Pretty easy boss. Third one of the of the raids. To be honest, all first 4 bosses are pretty easy. However, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the comments below, or you can also join my Discord. I'll be happy to help you over there. I'm going to be posting all of my resources on my Discord, as well as some in the description below. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Until next time.